In other news, we actually got a new trailer today for Uncharted. So for the movie. So historically, video game movies have not done too well. Uh, I'll admit, because I have a toddler at home, I've watched the Sonic movie way too much, and the Sonic movie is
Mm.
actually pretty well made. I actually kind of liked it. Uh,
Yeah, definitely.
the new trailer for Uncharted came out today, and I actually think it's gonna do well. And I mean, Tom Holland's in the role, right? As Drake, as Nathan Drake. It's really cool to see him in that role. As I was watching the trailer, I saw Mark Wahlberg, who was pretty. It's pretty funny. Mark Wahlberg was rumored to be Drake before, and now,
I remember that, and it did make sense because he was like around that right age frame, or maybe like you could say he was like 40, even though he's 10 years older. But he kind of like more that look for what I was expecting out of a Nathan Drake or a live action depiction of Nathan
yeah,
Drake.
yeah, and I mean, I thought Mark Wahlberg would be fine for it too. I think Chris Pratt was in the running as well, just John Krasinski, but they ended up with Tom Holland, and they're gonna do a prequel. It's basically a prequel to the games, which I think
Oh yeah,
it's
because obviously he's really young.
yeah, I think it's really smart to do it this way. I'm really hoping they do well, just because again, the history of video game movies isn't too good. I mean, we just had that Mortal Kombat movie, which is okay. Uh, you're pulling your
Yeah.
face there. Did you not like the Mortal Kombat movie?
I was a big fan of Mortal Kombat, and I think when it was first announced, I was really hyped for it. And they got actors who could perform the movements. Ludi Lin as Liu Kang. He was somebody who has that physique, and he can also perform a lot of his movements. Kung Lao was actually Max Zhang. He was a former member of the
Yeah,
Jackie Chan stunt team. Was long running Shaolin Wushu practitioner. Just seeing his movements, and so it looked like to me they were really just trying to get actors who could perform the movements, as opposed to having to get actors and then train them. And I just felt like it just messed up. It just tried to change so much about the lore and the mythology with the arcanas, and it kind of, but also too, it started making me wonder too, is this really something that this franchise was it meant to be based off or have like a movie adaptation? Just because it's such a straightforward story,
yeah,
it's hard to really do that and make it the way that it captures the essence of the game. So it made me more just kind of questioning: is it really possible to do an actual live action version of Mortal Kombat?
yeah. I don't know. So I think, kind of going back to Uncharted, I was kind of thinking along the same lines. I mean, Uncharted, yes, it has a good storyline. It's kind of a, I mean, the gameplay, it's a gun game, third person, and you kind of work through the different environments. So I
Mm.
just didn't know how that would translate.
Yeah,
Thankfully, Uncharted does have really good storylines in place, like all the way
yeah.
through.
Well, I think it's definitely built up for more of a movie adaptation than something like Mortal
Yeah, but
Kombat.
I thought the same thing about Assassin's Creed. I'm like, at first I was like, oh, really good
Yeah,
storylines. It's gonna do great as a movie. And I remember watching. I
same.
went to the theater. I watched it with Eddie, and it was just like, oh man, this isn't. This is kind of boring at some points.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that was another, yeah, especially because me too. I'm a big Assassin's Creed fan, and just I'm like, I had so much hype for it. It was like, hey, this action looks great. This looks awesome, and they're
yeah,
changing things a little bit, but it still feels like it's gonna fit within the realm or the essence, the spirit of what Assassin's Creed was. And
yeah.
then I'm like, I
And then you
don't.
had Michael Fassbender in
Yeah,
the
I
lead
I, I
role.
could have done without this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was optimistic about that. Kind of let me down. So with Uncharted, I'm gonna double down. I'm gonna be optimistic about this one too, just from this trailer.
Mhm.
I think Tom Holland does a
Yeah.
good job as a really young Nathan Drake. It's still kind of hard for me to unsee him as Peter Parker. Uh,
I mean, I think he even does like a spider
I know,
pose at
right?
some point in the trailer, doesn't he? Or he does like that.
But I think Mark Wahlberg as Sully is it's kind of weird to see, just because Sully's kind of like the father figure in the video games, and he's really a mentor. But I think,
Yeah, and you typically don't see Mark Wahlberg in
yeah,
those kind
but
of
I think
roles,
he
but
could pull it off. He's a good actor, so
yeah,
and they might even go a different direction with Sully's character. But from the
yeah, definitely.
from the trailer, it definitely looks like he's that mentor type role for Nathan Drake, and
Mhm.
they even mentioned
Yeah,
his brother like so early on in the trailer, which was like a big reveal within in the games. And
yeah,
I think what got me the most excited for this movie is they included the like cargo airplane scene from I think it was Uncharted 3. And
yeah. I
yeah, I
remember
mean that's
that.
an like iconic moment in the game, in the whole franchise. It's probably one of the
Right.
more iconic moments, unless you count the like the train scene as well. Um, but yeah, as an iconic moment, I think that cargo scene is was really important to have in the trailer because it's going to get fans really involved. Is going to get fans of the video games to really look at that scene and be like, okay, I think they're doing right by Uncharted. Kind of, yeah, some of the
Definitely.
stuff that we missed from Assassin's Creed or from Mortal Kombat, some of these other movies, was like actual scenes from the video games that we wanted to see reenacted in live action.
Mhm.
So seeing that cargo scene, I think it shows us as gamers that they're trying to stay true to the original vision of the games. And I think
Right. Right.
that's what I took from it, and that's what I really liked about
Definitely.
the trailer.